Hey, welcome to another morning coffee with Trevor, your host Trevor Matthews, and once again another great day. We're day 23 now. Lots of conversations going on over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. Man, time flies when you're having fun. I just finished up a couple courses this week, a supermarket course. I finished up also a compressor masterclass. Super successful. I'm really proud of all the technicians that were in those courses. They put a lot of effort in because the courses aren't easy. It's not just me going and just talking and like I do here, just talk, talk, talk. It's really investing their time in their busy schedules to do the assignments, to do the quizzes, to stay on top of the work and watch the videos and listen to the podcasts and my programs. And man, I really believe it has been super successful in those courses, and I'm really proud of those technicians that took the time to do it. Today is it's Thursday, great day. I like Thursdays because it's real close to the weekend. You're over the hump day, but there's a lot of opportunities on Thursdays for some reason. Like a lot of people connecting, trying to get a lot of stuff done, sharing a lot of information. So I like enjoy Thursdays. So as one step closer to that weekend too. So hopefully everyone's doing good this morning. Some of the things that I've been noticing in some of the programs that I'm doing is the growth in the technicians. And it doesn't matter if the technician's only like 2 or 3 years in the industry, or I have technicians 15, 16 years in it, all the same length of time as me in some of my programs that I'm doing. And it's really, really cool to see the growth throughout a 4 or 6 week program where, I started off the course talking about more of the introductory fundamental stuff and then move on to more advanced. But the questions that I ask, I can ask them in different ways, change them around, make them think a little bit more. And you could see how they changed either their answers or the way they thought about answering and solving a problem, which is really cool to see. And when you start understanding and see people grasping concepts, that is by far very gratifying for me when I can explain something. And it's even, it's not as easy over online because all my programs are online, like my trainings, my learning programs, mentorship, all that stuff is all virtual. So it's a little bit more difficult online than when you're sitting in front of a crowd of 20 or 30 people. And what I've been really striving for is to really perfect that online presence, to make people feel comfortable, feel like they're in an atmosphere with in a place, doing that training somewhere. Because the step one is getting the person to feel like they're in a training atmosphere. Even before the course starts, that I do is that I'll sit down and I'll have a chat with them and get them to clear space off, find a quiet room to work in, use the video camera. There's lots of people that don't, I don't want to turn the video camera on. Well, if you were in a training classroom with me or room, or, you wouldn't be able to shut the camera off, where you're going to sit in the other room, behind a door or something. So, just talk about, you got to get them in the training and the learning mindset. I think that's something that's very important when you're going to take a program, even yourself. I highly recommend when you're taking a program, you set yourself up for success. Have your notepad, have your water, have snacks, have everything you need to get ready for that program that you're sitting in. But over the last 6-8 weeks, the course that I've been doing, it's just really nice to see that success pattern and that growth pattern. A lot of fun. So anyway, here in Canada, you'll see in the supermarket side of the things, you'll see a lot of E2s or CPCs. There will be a lot of microthermal. I worked on a lot of both of them. And there's a little bit of Novar, now a little bit of Danfoss for the controller, and that controls the whole system. So it's the energy management software, the facility management software, people call it, but it's basically the controller that controls all the compressors and all the circuits and all those relays, and it really does the alarming. So it does really everything, takes care of everything. And one of my good friends who's the lead support for CPC here in Canada, or Emerson, or whatever they want to call it, E2 now. I think there's Cold Chain. They got a new name for it. But I reached out to him because on their old website, when I used to work for Emerson, they used to have this great document location where you'd have all the documents on the sensors, on the multi-flex boards, on the IO boards and whatever, just finding the manuals was a lot easier on the old website. And so they updated everything. And he actually sent me a link a couple days ago that where all the documents are again, which is pretty cool. I'm going to just throw it in the chat for those of you that work on this stuff. So you guys will have it and you can bookmark it and save it. But it's a great resource if you're working in a supermarket or a market refrigeration and you're working on these products, because inside there it'll have all the old legacy products. It'll have, and does it have it all? I haven't went through and checked everything. I just went and looked at a couple of the things I was looking for, because I do in my supermarket programs, I don't dive too deep in the controller. We talk about it. If guys ask about points and things like that, I do talk about it. And I get them to do a few assignments on the E2 so they can learn, because some of them are real good and skilled on the E2 and some, just need some more work and just need to work at it a bit more. And so in my programs, I will put like, okay, you got to watch this video and then, take some notes or answer these questions or have a group discussion on the next training. And that's where they get a little bit of the control side, because there's so much, like in my programs, like so say my 6-week program, there's so much to know. And even in a 6-week program, there's still, I could do a 12-week, a 14-week program, and there's still be more stuff to learn. But I feel like around that amount of time, I can get the right amount of information in to really help to take the technician to that next step, right? Because it's all about the technician themselves wanting to invest their time, invest in themselves to get better. When you have that combination, somebody who wants to get better, who wants to work at it, man, you see the growth just go skyrocket. And it's no different in with technicians, or if you're talking about engineers or designers or project managers, when they set their mind to something and are focused on learning that specific topic, whatever it is, that the growth just happens quickly. Do they understand the concepts all the time right away? No, but that's where hopefully like a good trainer, a good educator can talk in ways that make sense to them. And I really, what I like about and what I try to do in a lot of my programs is get a lot of conversations going. Like that's the big thing. If there's a good conversation going in the program, it makes it so much better for them, because at the end of the day, a lot of the people that come into my program know just as much as me or maybe more, but it's the way I believe I lay it out, the way I care about it, and I talk to them about it, make them think in a different way. So when they're out there troubleshooting in the field, they think a little bit differently and get out of sometimes that, I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years the same way every day, day in, day out. And I just needed that, to someone just to talk to about it, because as a technician, it can be pretty lonely depending on where you're at. You're just working out of your house and you're just going to jobs day in, day out. You don't really chat maybe with the coworkers, maybe you chat with the office a little bit, and it's a way to get to know other people maybe inside your organization or other refrigeration professionals in the industry. And I think that is so important. You need to start meeting more people inside the refrigeration profession. And it's highly important to do that. Different companies, different provinces, states, countries, and get conversations going. And because why it's so important is because I've seen it many times, even in my program, like I'll do assignments and I'll ask them, like, how do you do this specific thing? And, out of 20 of them, they'll have all of those. Some of them will have the same way of doing something, but there'll be a bunch of different ways to get the same results. And what's really good about that other people will see that, like, wow, I was doing it this way, but I could have been doing it that way. I didn't even know. This is the way I was shown. And so it's giving people more options. And that's really what I like to to really stress upon in my programs. It's not always only one way to do something in refrigeration. There's many different ways, and it's important to learn that, right? So I've had people say, "Oh, well, I worked with this guy and it's a hack and he didn't do anything right, blah blah blah." But what did you learn from it? I didn't learn anything. Well, you just told me you learned a lot of stuff that you don't want to do. So that's good. That's something that you're learning, even though it's even though it's not the right. It's you understanding that it's not right, or asking the why. Asking that question. That's so important. Ask the why. Why are you doing it this way? And they need to be able to explain that. You know, when you're working with, say, a leader, a team lead, or a foreman, or a manager, a construction manager, whatever it is, ask the why. If you don't understand, this is so important. Maybe they don't want, maybe they're a person that's don't know how to teach, talk to other people. You know, they know how to do their job and they're in and they can grind and they can get stuff done, but they don't know how to explain it properly, or they don't come across the right way. But ask that why. If you don't know, you need to figure it out. You know, but because then you're just going to be stressed more and you're going to, you know, have less confidence. You know, figure out the why. And it may not, you may have to ask 7 or 8 people. Maybe you have to ask 10 people that same question. Why is this do this? You know, and then challenge them, you know, because I ask people to challenge me all the time, which is great. They ask me questions and I'm like, why does that do that? Oh, well, I don't know, actually. You know, I've been talking about this for a little bit, but I don't know exactly why that specific thing does that. And that's where I go in and dive in a little bit more. And that's where I learn a lot. Like from doing my training programs, I learned so much because after it, I go in and find answers and I'm diving in more and learning more so I can go back and share it. And now I'm learning multiple times, over and over and multiple times. And that's really what I like, is because now is I can give reliable, accurate information because I went and dove in a little bit deeper. Do I know everything? God, no. But I tell people that right off the bat, I'm not going to have all the answers. And I don't have all the answers, but what I'm going to do is that I'm going to find those answers out. And it may not happen right away. It may take a little while because some information is hard to find. It's not always easy to find the specific information you're looking for. So, morning, everyone. See a lot of great names here. Thanks again for showing up and hanging out this morning. Some new names. Fantastic. I'm still super excited about LabWorks. I'm gonna have to reach out to the team there that gave me this coffee mug because I use it every day, multiple times a day. So getting its use. But yeah, understanding, getting into the learner's mindset is super important. You know, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If it's a technical course, if it's just a knowledge-based course, it's getting in and understanding where you're at that point and where you want to be. I see a lot of people getting into courses just to get into courses or to learn a little bit more, but don't put the time and the effort in the course. And that's what I really, really talk about and really want technicians, refrigeration professionals understand. If you're going into a course, you want to put the effort in, you want to put the time in, because it's only going to benefit you. The more effort you put in, the more you're going to learn. Because I've done it over the years where I've got into a program and, you know, I just half-assed it. I just, you know, I was sat on the call or I sat in the room, didn't take very much notes, wasn't really paying attention, was thinking about other stuff like, oh, where am I going to go here, vacation there, family this, work that, and really didn't get much out of the course. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, well, that course was okay, I guess. Well, was it okay? Or was it a good course? Was it an okay course or was it a bad course? How can I tell? I didn't put any effort in. You know, I see this a lot too. I've been in courses where I've sat in on course and I'm like, that was a really informative course. And the other people were like, well, I didn't get too much from it. And then we have a conversation about it and they're like, well, not really sure about that. Well, they talked about that in the program. Oh, did they? I must have missed that. Well, it's important to invest that time that you're there taking training or any type of in learning environment. You need to try to be there in the moment to learn that stuff, to ask those questions. It's so important. I really push that in my programs too, is ask questions. It doesn't matter if it's the same company with the same techs or a bunch of different techs or a bunch of different professionals from all around the world. Ask those questions. You need to understand. And if you don't ask the question, you're just going to be like, I don't know this. Maybe I should have asked at that time when I had the opportunity when I was there with that educator. Because afterwards it's not as easy to get the answers. And maybe at that point, that teacher, that educator, that instructor didn't have the answer at that point. But you need to ask the questions. And will you always get the answer you're looking for? No. Will you always get an answer? No. But if you don't ask the question, how do you know? How do you know? Is anybody here in any training programs right now, or besides the morning coffee with Trevor?
Good morning, Trevor.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. For the training, I'm currently doing Toastmasters. I
Awesome.
started last week.
Good for you. Awesome. That's
Awesome.
going to help you out so much. Just getting, as I know we talked about it before, where you want to, be able to have that communication a bit better,
Oh,
come
yes.
across a bit different, and Toastmasters it's going to be very helpful. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
What about anybody else? Anybody else in any learning or professional development programs, technical training programs?
So what is Toastmasters again?
Toastmasters is a community, a global community to help people really get out of their comfort zone a bit, to be able to have talk and present in front of people, be able to like do speeches. Well, what you do there is you'll go in and there'll be a group of people and you'll build presentations and you'll go up and you'll kind of role play. You'll talk in front of everybody and they'll give you feedback on, like you said, or so many times, and they'll count, some people will count that stuff depending on the group that you're in. And, at first you're like, oh my God, it's just so scary. And, they're giving me this feedback, this constructive feedback. It's not feedback to say that, you said 1,000 times and you're an idiot, because I've had people tell me that, and they're, I hate your videos, I hate your training because of this stuff. But that's how I learned, you know what I mean? At first I took it to heart, but in there, they're just constructive feedback, trying to get you better so you feel comfortable to stand up in front of 1,000 people and be able to present something, or have a conversation with a customer and not feel embarrassed or intimidated about it. So, and there's a lot more to it. I highly recommend just looking it up, and there's probably one in your area or not far from where you live, because they're a global community, and it's something that can help you if you want to get better at public speaking.
Good morning, Trevor. Can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm Rasheen, and I'm not currently in any active training programs. I'm more of a self-motivator. I did do a year program for HVAC and refrigeration, and
Awesome.
I graduated last year in April. So since then, it's just been taking the opportunity to use those resources, like yourself, HVAC school, and so on, just, getting involved and tapping into the community. As a person who's been in the field a cumulative of 4 months, a little over 4 months, it's definitely been a journey. Just like anything else, actively pursuing knowledge, dealing with the day-to-day management and technicians. It's been a lot. I think the biggest thing for me is ensuring that, irregardless of where anyone else may be in their journey, and we try to help each other along the way. I realize that my purpose is going to be defined by the dedication that I put into, this trade and this industry. And I see that a lot of individuals around me, some are like-minded, but not a lot are. And so I don't find a lot of support when I'm the type of person I look for sometimes, and that can be a downer. But I'm just kind of piggybacking off the gentleman yesterday that kind of picked up on the end. The biggest motivator is just going to be in the journey itself. You're going to realize and grow along the way in your reasoning or your passion is always going to blossom. Others are always going to pick up on that energy, and it will be reciprocated, whether it happens today, tomorrow, or next year. It may not happen on our time, but it's going to be right on time. So, yeah, that's my piece. And I look forward to everything that you continue to offer us. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Rasheen, I love that, and I love that attitude, because it's so important. Like, you're only in the industry, 16 months. You did your 1 year program, now 4 months in the field, and you're seeing it already. You're seeing sides of where people just don't care. They're there just maybe it's because it's the job to make money. You see other people that are like more like mindset, like, I want to get better. I would want to feel confident at my role. I want to, help the customer out. And really, once again, it's up to you. At the end of the day, it's up to you. I can say whatever I want, and try to motivate you the best I can. But at the end of the day, it's up to the individual. The way I present it may make a difference for you. And like, if we relate a bit more, and I feel that what may be lacking, and I don't know if it's lacking, is but people not caring enough. That's one of the things that I hear from a lot of people. It's like, Trevor, it just sounds like you really care about helping others. And at the end of the day, if I can help mentor or coach you, or just give you some advice that they'll say, well, maybe I should just try a little bit harder, just a little bit. I don't have to turn my life upside down, but just want to get a little bit better. That for me is that's success. You know what I mean? And just by listening to your journey so far, like, you're on your way. You're on your way to a very, very successful career to do really whatever you want. Because in this journey, like in refrigeration and in HVAC, there is so much opportunity. And this is, I think, where some people get blindfolded. It's like, well, all I'm doing is flipping belts and changing filters, and that's all I do. Well, be the best belt changer and filter flippers there is in your company. And you don't think that, you'll get a pay raise from that? And if you don't, or you don't get a better job or get on the service like you want, and if you don't, that contractor down the street is going to notice. That wholesaler or supply house that you're going talking to doing this, they're going to notice. And this is what people aren't thinking about. There's people watching from all different angles all the time. And the harder and more effort you put in, and the better you get, and the growth that's going to happen, people see that. And then, because I see this all the time, well, I'm looking for a raise. Well, what are you doing to get a raise? Are you working harder? Are you working harder than what you're getting paid for? Because a lot of people are working less, not as hard, and wanting to get paid more, or have a better job or a better role, and they're doing less. If you want a better job or you want a better role, you got to do more and harder and better and faster and smarter. And that's just the way it is. You can't expect to get a better role and not put any effort in, like learning. Like Rashid just said here, is that he's spending the time. I want to learn. But there are times, and Rashid, for sure, I've seen it too, is where you're trying to talk to someone and, you're motivated and you got excitement in you that day, and they just say something that just crushes you. You're pumped for the day to get out and go to work, and then you just hear their negative attitude, or just that temper at that point. Maybe they're not like that. Maybe they're just having a bad day, but it just kind of brings you down. And what the biggest thing you need to do, and this is what I still work on, is that, okay, they're having a bad day. It shouldn't affect my day. Don't let it affect my day, because it's really in the mindset. And then what you need to do is just connect and network with more people. Like I said earlier, network with more people in the industry that, that have the positive attitude, that want to get better themselves. The top leaders that I know, they're still growing. Like, these guys are, been in the industry 25, 30 years. They're still taking courses on refrigeration. They're still going to events. They're still learning, growing, growth. Maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe it's not as much as technical as it was at the beginning, but they still do that as well. So it's up to us for our own growth, because nobody else is going to be like, okay, well, you should take this, you should take that, you should take this, and this is your path. Nobody, it's your own journey. You need to kind of figure it out yourself, but find people along the way that's going to help, maybe guide you a little bit, or maybe give you some mentorship, or maybe coach you a little bit, or at least talk about their journey and what they did and where they should have turned left and it's going right or whatever it is, you know what I mean? And then those things help. But at the end of the day, it's up to you. If you want to do great, you want to do great things, you got to be motivated. You got to motivate yourself. Nobody else is going to do it. You may have to change some of your ways because nobody can change you. You only can change yourself. And then really focus and take an action. And don't think, okay, this is going to be 5 years. You know, before I get to where I want to be, it's going to take 5 years. Some people are like, oh my God, I need to be there tomorrow. No, well, if it takes 5 years, if it takes 10 years, as long as you're taking those action steps each day, each week, each month, can you imagine the amount of information that you're going to learn in 5 years? A lot of people are just, they're not looking at that. They're just, okay, I'm going to go put out fires today and then I'm going to go home. I'm going to go put out fires today and then I'm going to go home. And then they get in this vicious cycle of, not in the learner's mindset. Why would I go take that program? I've been doing this for 10 years. I've been doing this for 20 years. Oh, the company doesn't invest in me. They don't do any training. Well, if they do, okay, doesn't matter. You go pay for training. You go out and do the training. Why does the company have to pay for your skill set? Because that skill set you're going to take with you. It's not like you all of a sudden you're like, okay, here you go. Here's the education that you taught me, and you leave it at the company and you got to go start from scratch from another company. And this is what people aren't understanding. And I didn't understand it either. I'll be honest with you. When I was a young apprentice, I didn't understand it either because I was around people saying don't take training unless you're getting paid. And I still talk to lots of people like that. If your company's not paying you your hourly rate or overtime for taking the training or on the weekend or this or that, don't do the training. What kind of advice is that? You should be paying for the training. Like the trainings that I've invested myself in, I paid thousands of dollars for trainings. That's a multiplier of 20 or 30 sometimes. Yes, I paid $5,000 for a training, but since that training, because of it, I made $50,000, $60,000. Or it's a $300 training. I made $5,000 or $6,000 because of that knowledge. I saved time. I was able to go and hang out with my kids or my family or take vacation or get more time off from my company because I put the time in. I've did that many times where I worked my ass off for a few months. And when I say, okay, I need this week off because I want to take my family or I want to go on vacation, you know what the company said? Wow, like you did all this stuff over the last few months because they don't know what you're doing. But you got to come and show them and educate your company sometimes and be like, this is what I've been working on. And I need this time off now. And then I'll come back, recharge, refresh, and get back at it. And so just from the conversation, Rasheen, you're going to be very successful. Keep learning, keep investing in yourself, and take the time and do it as a slow process. Don't try to learn everything overnight because you focus on what you're doing right now and what you want to learn. So if it's on package air units, if it's on residential units, if it's on commercial units, stick with that and spend a few years learning that. And then after that, I highly recommend trying something else, working on different equipment. Maybe it's staying at the same company. Maybe it's moving a company. Don't burn any bridges, because you may want to come back to that company. All of the best technicians I know have moved around and worked at, not all of them, but some of them moved around, worked at different companies, and then and went back to that company that they worked maybe 5 years earlier. Just getting different experience, going out. And when you have a good relationship, you always can give them a call back because in refrigeration, they're all good companies are always looking for good technicians.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your piece on that. It was a special as in every opportunity to get to speak with you. Like you said, it's a day-by-day journey. Just continue to invest in myself and pay it forward. I'm actively at work, so I'm going to get back to it. But
Yeah, good
thank
luck.
you very much.
You're welcome. And that's the big thing. If you want to, once again, I say it multiple times, if you want to learn more, even like Rashid's only in 4 months on the job, well, maybe he can learn something, read a document, take some information and share that with someone else. Someone else that maybe is not the technicians that don't really care, but the other ones that are in that right mindset. And you get that conversation going and maybe they can give you advice back. And maybe he's in 4 months and that other person's in 5 years, or the other person's only in 2 months. And then when you talk about it and you think about it and then you share that knowledge, it's really going to help. Well, I regularly tune into Brian Orr's HVAC school. Great on, yes. I hate Brian has so much great information on his website. I highly recommend go and checking out his stuff. Um, Content is just coming out every angle from the HVAC school. So I highly recommend checking out podcasts, going to their website, looking at the posts that have signing up to the subscribing to the videos, YouTube, subscribing to his email list. So much great information they're putting out over there.
Yeah, I'd like to add to the point you're making there, Trevor, that I've done the same thing. And I actually just told someone, one of the guys I worked with not too long ago, the same thing. I said, I paid for a lot of my training. And he didn't even realize it because we work at the same company. I said, I'm technically a licensed contractor because we live in Ohio, and I have a state license for the state. And to have a license, you have has to be under business. So I have this whole thing set up just so I can keep my license active. And I have multiple licenses. And I told him, like, and the companies I have worked for did not pay for that. I paid for it. I was like, I made that sacrifice. They're mine, but I can put that anywhere and go to work. And if I had to, I don't really want to start from scratch on my own in that way. But if I had to, I can go do that work. I said, but what I told them, what I want you to realize is that you have to make that investment in yourself. You have to put that effort forward. If that's something you want, if you want higher pay, sometimes the management doesn't always understand the technical side. So you have to show some document that verifies your knowledge. So go, take those things. In our company right now, for most of those guys, they only cover half of it. And a lot of them were complaining. That's where it came up. And I said, why are you complaining? Same thing. It's your knowledge. You're going to take it wherever you want. It'll make you more valuable if you go and get the most out of it. So I 100% agree with that mentality.
Yeah. Well, I went to a university. I went to a college. I've been to a ton of trade schools. Nobody paid for that. I figured that out on my own. I borrowed money. I borrowed tons of money. I was able to have the opportunity where I'm at in the world that I could go to the government and they would borrow me money at very high interest. Don't get me wrong. It cost me a lot of money. It took me 10 years to pay off some of my loans, 10 years. But if I didn't get into refrigeration and HVAC, I bet you I'd be still paying them off, and I invested in myself because I knew when I first, like I said, when I first started out, I didn't know. People were telling me, don't do any training unless you get paid. But when I realized and I came to my senses, like, wow, these guys are way smarter than me. They're getting jobs done. They're more confident. They're not stressed out when they go home. Why is it? And when I talk to those guys, well, I take this training. I've done this. I've done that. I've done this experience. I spend this time working on this other stuff. I'm like, wow. Okay. And then I started to realize it's like, I need to invest in myself. Not worry about a company investing in me, which is great. When the company does do that, man, you should have more respect for them. Not think it's a privilege or they have to pay for your training, because they don't. They don't. And when you start investing in yourself, the growth just happens. It just continues. But you need to invest in yourself. You need to put the time. You need to want to do it, and not bitch and complain that the company's not paying for it. You take that knowledge with you. There's no other, like I've talked to my wife about it, and she was like, when I told her the first time, like that these technicians in my programs, they're getting paid on top of what the company has to pay for the training. And she's like, what? Seriously? And I'm like, yeah, that's what's happening. It's like, I wish that I could get paid to learn my skill or my craft. And really don't take that stuff for granted. If you get the opportunity where a company pays, great. But if you don't, it's fine too. Just think about the return on investment. Think about the return on investment that you are getting. That knowledge is in your head. And I've seen this as well. Like I see where some technicians, and over the years, even when I was working at Copeland as the lead trainer, is where companies would pay for these technicians to come in, but they didn't put any effort because they didn't put any skin in the game. They didn't pay that $500 or $1,000 to come to the training. So it's like, well, it doesn't matter if I learn anything or not. I'm not investing my time. But now if they paid 500 or 1,000 of their own money, I think they'll be like, wow, okay, let me spend the money. I need to invest in myself a bit more. So it's something going on out there. You know, it's the people who want to invest in themselves, who take the time to learn, to be involved in the program. That's the technicians or the people. It doesn't matter if it's technician or not. That's where your growth happens, you know, and it's wanting to do it. Because if you don't want to do it, then you're just spending or wasting money, or a company's wasting money at the end of the day.
And one last thing I'd like to add too, because I know we're running short on time, is that I think I've taken tons of training in years past. And I think that's the thing I've missed out on the most, is asking questions and being more involved. I remember when I was really early in the trade and I took an airflow class, and the instructor was really good, but I was lost, you know, and I was afraid to ask questions because it was so over my head. And I wish I would have done that earlier, and that would have saved me so much heartache learning it the hard way in the field. And so that's one of the biggest regrets I have in some of my classes, not asking more questions and being more involved.
Yeah, and it's important to do that. And that's what I really stress about in the courses that I put on, and even develop my skills as an educator, a trainer, a mentor, is that it's important to ask questions. I usually, at the end of a program, like if it's a 2-hour session I'm doing, I'll stop and I'll wait. And there's always someone where everybody logs off. There's always 1 or 2 guys wanting to ask questions. And I ask them, like, you should ask these questions during the training. I'll still answer them. At least they're stopping, they're asking the why even afterwards. But once again, if there's 20 people on that call and this one person has that question, there's probably 3 or 4 other people that are like, okay. But I really strive on, when I'm doing trainings, is to ask the question, do you understand that? Some people will say yes, and I know some people don't really understand it. So I'll shoot them a private message in the chat. Are you sure you understand that? Because we can talk about it afterwards. You know, investing, really caring. I think that's where a lot of people like my training, because I care. I care if the technicians become successful, or the refrigeration professionals become successful. And the people that come into my programs that don't, you know, they're not there to learn. I don't want them in my programs. You know, I don't want people here to disrupt it, or don't want to try to learn stuff. Even if it's stuff that you already know, you always can learn something. I've been to programs, the exact same program, you know, and I just ask different questions at those times. You get different answers, different questions, different answers. So I'm learning at that point, even though it's the same course, same program. I ask that, and it makes me better, even because it's all about reps. Once again, it's all about reps. You go into a full day program, unless you have like a photographic memory, I guess, that you can just retain that information. For most people, it's like you have to learn how to learn, take notes, and then afterward review those notes, and then read them again, and then take some more information, that's similar information from a different source, and then compile it into information that makes sense to you. Well, here I've trained new techs on the importance of filters and belt maintenance. I've expanded on many effects of people production and preservation of the product, airflow, fan speed, static pressure, comfort, cool. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, it's so important to make sure that it doesn't matter what role you have in HVAC or refrigeration, it's an important role. It could be cleaning cases out, but you need to be the best case cleaner out there. People notice that stuff. Like I said, you may not think people notice that it may be a crappy job. And I've done a lot of crappy jobs, a lot, working in meat plants and working in areas where I'm pulling off 20, 30-year-old boxes, and there's mold and asbestos and vermiculite everywhere. You know what I mean? And not very fun. That doesn't smell very good. Pulling out grease traps that haven't been cleaned in 30 years. And if you ever know what a grease trap in a big store, not fun. But you persevere, you push hard, you get that job done, and you go to the next one, and you learn from that. And then you learn from it. Like, well, I'm not doing it this way next time. You know what I mean? We're not opening that grease trap at this point. We're gonna make sure we're gonna do it this way, because or you suck it out before. And just these things that you learn each time, even though it's not a very fun job, sometimes you keep working towards to make it easier, better, and teach other people to make it an easier job for them. Oh, Rasheen, yes, that Dick Worth's book is yeah, definitely get into it. If you haven't read it all again, read it again, read it again, read it again. I read it, I pick it up all the time. I got multiple books here. Like I got the commercial refrigeration one, I got the Copeland Blue books, I got modern refrigeration, which is older one, which I really started working on, but it's so thick, it's intimidating because it's like 1,500 pages, right? It should be broken up into different smaller books, but yeah, lots of tons of investing in yourself. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone, for spending a little bit of time with me today, and hopefully, I know Dick works personally. Awesome, good. Well, tell him, say hi next time you see him for me. So, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and let's get a conversation going. See you.